Hey, let's talk about alcohol and other drugs and abusing it. So, a little intro about drugs and what they are. So, what is a drug? A drug is any substance other than food that causes a chemical change in the body or mind. So, use would be a good thing, which would be taking a legal drug in the correct dosage. Misuse is not a good thing. That would be taking or using medicines not taking them the way that the doctor prescribed them or ordered you to do. Abuse is really bad. That's where you're using drugs in ways that are unhealthy or illegal. So again, drug use, taking a legal drug in the correct dosage. So that could be a prescription medication or an over-the-counter medication. And all of these drugs are good. They help cure, treat, and prevent diseases. They also help our body repair damaged organs, also help people live longer and healthier lives. So prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs, when used correctly, can be very good and beneficial for us. When misused, that's where we're not taking or using the medication the way that the doctor prescribed. So that would be not finishing a prescription all the way, taking more of your prescription at a time, so a bigger dosage than ordered to, taking a prescription more often, so if it says every 4 hours and you're taking it every 3, that would be misuse, and also not following the complete direction. So if it says take with food, you need to make sure that you're taking it with food, or whatever the directions on the bottle say you need to make sure that you're doing. Drug abuse is using drugs in any way that are unhealthy or illegal. So this would be using any illegal substance. This could be marijuana, cocaine, crack, meth, or even drinking alcohol under 21, even though it is legal for people over 21 and over. If you are doing it under 21, that would be abuse. Taking or using someone else's prescription for any reason would be abuse, even if it's mom's medication for headaches and you have a headache and she gives it to you. That is prescribed for her, so you shouldn't be taking it. Mom might have things in her medical history that you don't have, or you might have things in your medical history that she doesn't have, and that may affect you in a different way. Or taking any legal drug to get a high effect would be drug abuse. So here we see with prescription drug abuse, taking someone else's prescription to self-medicate would be improper. Taking a prescription medication in any other way that it is prescribed is improper. And then if we're taking a medication to get high, that would be abuse of a prescription drug. Negative reactions can happen to any drug that you take. A side effect is any reaction to a drug other than what is intended. So if I take a headache medication to get rid of a headache and it makes me jittery, that's not the intent. Okay, so that would be a side effect, the jitteriness. Could be upset stomachs as well, maybe drowsiness, irritability, or a headache. Tolerance is when the body needs more of a drug to have the same effect. So, for example, it might be an allergy medication, an over-the-counter allergy medication that you take daily to help with your allergies. Over time, maybe you can no longer take one, you have to take 2 pills in order to feel the effects of it because you have built up a tolerance. Same thing with alcohol. Maybe I could go out right now, have a glass of wine, and I would start feeling the effects. Well, if I did that every day for a week, by the end of the week, it might take me 2 glasses of wine in order to start feeling those effects. So you start to build up a tolerance. And tolerance takes a short amount of time to build up, but a long time to bring down. Addiction is when the mind or body sends a message to the brain needing more of it. It could be a physical addiction or a psychological addiction. It could be that physically you have symptoms where you need it to function, or it could be psychological, where you think that you need it to function. Withdrawal is a group of physical and mental symptoms that occur when a person suddenly stops using a drug, which he or she has become dependent on. So for alcohol, it could be if I am an alcoholic and I stop drinking, I could get the shakes really bad until I have alcohol, and once I have alcohol, they go away. That's a withdrawal system. I'm not getting that drug that my body is used to. Some people can get headaches, upset stomach, they can be jittery or even panicked. Some people, even heavy drug users, if they don't have that drug, the withdrawal can be so bad that they could actually die from not having the drug because they've been using so much of the drug for so long and their bodies are so used to it. Your body does not know how to cope without it and doesn't know how to function without it. When did the use of drugs begin? Thousands of years ago. People started taking herbs to help control pain. Some plants made people feel strange. Some are used in religious ceremonies or maybe makeup, maybe on tips of arrows to kill animals as well. It might be a poison that they put. Or they could have been used for forms of magic. One of the earliest drugs to relieve pain is opium, which is an Asian poppy seed. It's used to treat different kinds of illnesses, but people couldn't think clearly and they always seemed kind of drowsy and tired. They felt that they needed to take the drug all the time, so they were becoming addicted, and the body developed physical dependence or the need for the drug. And if they stopped using it, they were feeling worse because they were experiencing those withdrawal symptoms. So they needed to have the drug in order to feel better. In 1853, the needle was invented, the hypodermic needle. Civil War injured soldiers were injected with morphine to help with pain. Soldiers became addicted, and the doctors didn't understand why. They didn't know that it was a drug that is very addictive. And when they stopped using it, they became very sick, which would be withdrawal symptoms. And doctors didn't know enough about drugs, and they didn't know that too much would be dangerous for them. 1938 laws were passed that required drugs to be tested for safety as well. How does a drug work? Drugs may be administered or taken in several different ways, but basically a drug gets into the body and travels through the bloodstream. Once a drug is taken, it is dispersed to every organ in the body. So we can take it different ways that it can be administered, either orally, which is swallowed, so usually like a pill we would take. The stomach would start to digest it. Some of them need food to start to digest and break down, and then the liver can filter it. Small intestines, it can be released into the bloodstream through small intestines. And then it goes into, like I say, every organ of the body and causes a chemical reaction in the cells of the tissue. Okay? Inhaled or smoked, either inhaled through the mouth or with asthma, as you see in the picture, could be taken in through the mouth as well, or smoked. Drugs enter the nasal cavity and go into the lungs, and those teeny tiny blood vessels, the capillaries in the lungs, take it up. Some of the thin membranes in the nose also absorb the drug quickly. So some examples of that you can see below. Also injected either into a muscle or into a blood vessel. It's the fastest effect. It is immediately into the bloodstream, so it happens, effects from the drug happen very quickly. So this could be either an IV, maybe a vaccine, which is injected into the muscle. Someone who has severe allergic reactions might have an EpiPen, which is epinephrine, which would be shot into the thigh muscle, and then it would be dispersed. Inserted, it could be a body opening, it could be eye drops, ears, nose maybe. It's absorbed through mucous membrane, so ear drops as well. If you have ear infections, could be another example of that. Could be applied to the skin, and then it's absorbed from the skin, so creams or patches would be an example of that. Most widely used drug is caffeine, and it's found in coffee, tea, soda, energy drinks, chocolate, cough and cold remedies, some aspirins. Excedrin has it for migraines. It is a stimulant, so it's going to increase our body temperature, increase our blood pressure and our heart rate. High doses can cause nausea, trembling, headaches, and nervousness. And regular users develop a tolerance. So if your parents are coffee drinkers, I know my husband in the morning, until he has his coffee, if he doesn't have coffee right away, he'll get a headache. And that would be a sign of withdrawal, a withdrawal symptom. Why is alcohol a drug? Because it causes a chemical change in the body. It is a drug that is legal for people who are 21 and over, but it is a depressant. So the opposite of caffeine, it's going to slow everything down, slow down movement in the body of blood. So our heart rate is going to decrease, less oxygen then is getting to our organs, and our organs can be damaged or killed off. We can lose brain cells. Alcoholics can have severe brain damage, and heavy drinkers have a lot of liver problems because the liver is trying to detoxify all the poison, all of the alcohol that is into the body. Just a little bit of information on prescriptions. You can write them either at doctors or physicians. They spend a lot of years in school learning how drugs affect the body and how much of a drug is needed to make a person better. They will learn to write a prescription or a written order, and then patients take that prescription to a drugstore or pharmacy. Pharmacists are very smart people. They deal with a lot of chemistry. They spend a lot of years learning about drugs. They're able to record information. They also read the directions thoroughly before giving any medication to you. They can figure out what can be mixed, what can't be mixed. So if you're on a different medication, they need to know that to know if it would be okay with that, any special directions, any special warnings, all of that stuff is figured out by a pharmacist. How is a drug approved? It can be made from plants, animals, minerals, bacteria even can make drugs. If an idea of a new drug is discussed, there has to be a lot of research to back it. They have to study it thoroughly and test every single ingredient in it. They have to analyze and mix the drugs together. It's a really, really long process. Pharmacologists are the people who test the drug to make sure it is not harmful to people. It's tested on a lot of different animals before it even goes to people, and like I say, it's a really long process, can take many years. The U.S. FDA makes sure that drugs are safe and effective, and it studies and tests. It studies all of the tests that are done on a drug to make sure that they believe that it's safe before it goes out to people. They decide what labels need to go on it. And it cannot be used on humans until it's approved by the FDA. Once it's approved, then they can start testing on humans. Some tests take years before the drug, like I say, is finally packaged and sold to the public. Testing phases on people. First, we're going to give the drug to healthy people, then we're going to give it to people who have the disease that the drug is intended for and see what happens to those people, but it's a small amount of people, and then we're going to give it to a larger testing pool. And then we'll go to the FDA and see if it can be approved by the FDA. And then safety rules. Anytime that you're taking a medication, you want to make sure that you take it as directed. So exactly what it says on the label, exactly what your doctor and pharmacist tell you. Finish the entire prescription. Discard any used medications. You can take those to a police station. They will take leftover medications. You don't want to flush them down the toilet, which they used to say because it gets into the water. And then the fish started getting really high. Just kidding, but we don't want to damage our water supply. So make sure that you take those to a police station. Never share your medications with anyone else. Keep it in a safe place. You don't want kids to be able to grab it and take it and overdose on it. Keep them in the original container so that you always know what is being said on it, what you need to do, what the directions are to follow for safety. Don't take several at a time unless the doctor knows. So don't start mixing medications for any reason unless you've talked to a doctor and they've said it's okay and have told you to do so. Mixing drugs with alcohol is very dangerous and it could be fatal. So we need to be very careful with that. Don't take medications in the dark because you might not know what you're taking, and never take medicine from an unlabeled container because you don't know what it could be and what is in there. And if you're not sure what it is, throw it out. Don't flush it though. Okay, so there's some information for you guys, just a little bit of introductory information on drugs. And we'll talk to you later. Have a good night.